All right, and we are on broadcast and stream. Oh,
Good
wait,
morning.
Hang on a sec. I need to change my profile.
That's fine.
All right,
Let me play some hold
there
music.
we go. And we're good.
Good morning, everyone. Good, very, very morning, everyone. I probably said that last time. Anyway, this is episode 326 of the OotiniCast being recorded on... Well, Chill will talk about that. It's pretty much the 4th of Feb. 5th of Feb for everyone else. Monday, I'm going to work in not very many hours because it's really early for me. So again, sorry about the bizarre time. Next show or the show after, we will be back to our regular slot, I think. I just can't do this anymore. I'm getting too old. Way, way too old. So I'm just about to tweet out Chill, and we will be good to go.
All right.
Tweeting now. We are live.
Yeah, exactly.
Live-ish. Oh yeah, Super Bowl. That's some sort of sports thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm only half joking because all I know is sports today for you guys is Super Bowl Sunday, and it's a football, some kind of football.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, okay, and apparently it's a big deal. So.
Yeah, especially if you like advertisements. Which sounds ridiculous, except this is the day when like they roll out all the big new ads and they do special ads just for the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So it actually is worth watching the Super Bowl for the ads. And after the Super Bowl, there will be all kinds of what were the best ads? What were the ads that flopped? Here's a compilation of the best ads of the Super Bowl. Blah blah blah. Blah. Yeah. So it's actually a thing.
Aren't they insanely expensive for the advertisers?
Yeah. The numbers keep changing, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the Super Bowl though when they released the Star Wars trailer last year? Because I seem to recall there was some sort of sporting thing.
Yeah, there's been speculation that the Solo movie trailer will appear at the Super Bowl. So, since we haven't had it yet, and there's been a lot of rumors that it's coming out this week, there's a fairly good chance that's actually going to be true.
That'd be good.
That would be great, actually, because we're coming up pretty damn close. It's like late May, isn't it, that the movie comes out? May 20, 28?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right, let's do this, Joe.
Cool. All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that has permission to jump into a cockpit and blow something up. This is episode 326, being recorded on Sunday, February 4th, 2018. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And we have a guest today. It's Blay. Hey, Blay, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Fine. What you been up to in-game?
Quite a bit recently. I've managed to take advantage of the fact that we just had what was for me anyway, a surprise 10 days double XP.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you do, you've got to get another character to level 30, right? In a double XP. That's what it's there for, Otherwise, it's just a complete waste. So, I managed to get another character up to 300, so I'm up to 7 now, so I just got 1 left in order to go for the achievement.
Wow.
And my last one is 250 as of this morning.
Whew.
So I'm hoping now I can get it done in about 2 weeks' time, something like that, if I just do some weeklies and not much else. So that should be absolutely fine.
Is it that quick now?
Yes, well, you get...
The way you play.
Well,
Right.
no. Even at tier 3, you're probably getting 4 or 5 levels per flashpoint, and about another 7 to 10 for doing the weekly. And then you can do a daily veteran as well. You can do the weekly uprising. You can do the areas. They give about 20k worth of XP for just doing black hole and stuff like that, so you can get quite a lot of levels. I did see a tweet from, I think it's Vasmi, who managed to get from level 1 to 300 in 18 hours of gameplay.
Whoa.
So I was going to ask her how she did that. So because that is quite impressive. That's a character a day if you can, sit there and just grind out in a day, really. So.
Just random question. If I remember correctly, the grind to 300 is effectively linear in terms of the amount of XP you need. Is that true? It doesn't go exponential?
No.
It does
No,
go exponential.
It gets more XP per level.
But not a lot more?
Just a bit
Not
more.
a lot more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The curve is gentle, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you'll probably get about 10, 12 level, or 10, 11 levels when you're tier 1, and you get about 7 levels. But
Right,
doing the
okay.
same thing when you're tier 3, so it's not that much difference, really.
I can pretty much picture the graph, thank you.
Apart from that, we had a crack at the 4th boss of Gods from the Machine.
Nice.
There's a couple of things you need to watch out for. There's a door boss that took out more people than anything else in the entire
Of course
raid.
there is. Right. And how does that work, or would that be a spoiler?
It's a door that opens, and if you don't all move inside quickly enough, it closes again and takes out half of your operation team. So, yeah, we lost 4 people, including myself. We lost one
Alright.
person twice because we rezzed them and they didn't move, and the door closed again, and killed them a second time. So
That's rather unfortunate. Okay.
That's a bit of a giggle.
Yeah, okay.
Plus, the ads to the first boss are quite tame, quite boring. The ads to the second boss, a little bit boring. The ads to the third boss, you've got these mines that will suddenly appear, but apart from that, there's not a lot really there to get to the third boss. Getting to the fourth boss, just the ads. The ads themselves are on a bit of an adventure. You got this whole thing where you've all got to stay underneath a shield, and if you come out of the shield because your tank has decided to just run off too quickly without telling anyone that he's moving, you get picked off and just knocked into the water and you're dead. So
That sounds exciting.
yeah, even the ads are more interesting on the fourth boss.
And how is the fourth boss?
We got him down to 17% on our first attempt.
This is veteran?
No, story.
Story, okay.
Yeah. First attempt, 17%. Then we read
Nice.
some tactics, and we got worse. So we read more tactics, and we got worse again, and we got worse and worse the more tactics we tried.
Wow.
So we read the guide, and the guide was like, "Oh, you need to take out this, that, and the other." We were doing that, and we just got worse. So I think next time we just go in, we're just gonna absolutely just face roll it and just slam the boss as hard as we can. See if we can push him down into the final phase before he does any of his nasty moves.
Okay.
So
Okay. Wasn't there one of the bosses in one of the dreads where you could just sort of power down the boss? There's supposed to be fancy mechanics around the ads, but sometimes it's just easier to take the boss down. Maybe not.
are you thinking of the first boss in
Yeah, I think I am.
Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah, if
I guess if you-
DPS is high enough, you probably could do that.
Which it isn't at first, of course.
Yeah.
Or wasn't, yeah. Yeah, cool, okay.
Yeah, we'll probably have another crack and probably get it done next time.
Excellent.
Apart from that, I went and got Andreas back, or Andronicus back, I should say.
Yep.
Very short. I was sort of disappointed with the length of the whole thing, but I hadn't romanced him, so I guess if you romanced him, you get extra options on it.
Right, okay.
And the only other thing that I've been doing is because I don't think any of my Republic side characters have actually completed Kotet. So I've been powering my smuggler through it.
Right.
Even though my smuggler is effectively a droid in the game, and the whole idea of my droid using force powers is a little bit too much for me to suspend my disbelief. It's bad enough he's a smuggler and using force powers. He's a droid using force powers.
Doesn't work like that, really, does it?
Yeah, I just go la 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 and just keep on
Right.
shooting stuff. And just going through it that way. But apart from that, that's it really. I've had quite a lot of fun in the game recently. Loving it still.
Excellent.
Okay, and Tio, how about your week?
Well, this is out of game, obviously. I had an exam last week, so I'm actually free for a little bit while. Hell, I might even play, but other stuff always seems to fill in the gap. We'll see. Looking forward to Solo, as we were talking about just before the show began. Given today is Super Bowl Sunday, there are rumours that the Solo movie trailer will come out during the sports event, during Super Bowl. So that would be amazing if it did, because that is coming up late May, more or less. Yep. And speaking of the movies, I have not yet seen The Last Jedi. It is so embarrassing, and I'm pretty much sure it's stopped showing in most cinemas here. So,
oh man,
and yeah,
what are you gonna do about that?
A bit late. Wait for it to come out on digital.
Oh.
Yeah, watch it on my big ass TV. So, which will be fantastic, but it won't be the proper experience. So that's okay. I'm pretty sure I saw the prequels at home as well, because I wasn't going to pay money to see episodes 2 and 3. I went and saw Phantom Menace in the cinema, and no. Well, we will see what happens. Anyway, that's me. Over to you, Chill.
All right, first a shout out to the chat room. Blaze here as Blachlach Gaming. Dekion and Fee are both here. Inkata1, Luno Jupiter, Nephrim56, Pin is here as Pendracos, and Siskaika. Alright, hello everyone. Thanks for coming on this rather odd time and day. Let's see, so Chill Hulk is at 300, has been for a little while now. She's slowly gearing up. It's really hard once you start getting the tier 4 boxes, it's like you really don't get a lot of max, end gear from them. It's pretty rare, so I'll have to break out the various other ways of gearing up. So for now I'm still picking away at getting her geared through, getting CXP and so on. But that's fine. At least she's getting close. She's like instead of 48, she's got 44, 45, something like that. So I also spent some time, a couple of really good long sessions getting Chillstorm through her class story, and I managed to finish that. It was interesting doing it with only the weather-related abilities, anything not, dark side, essentially that just had like dark abilities with no weather lightning component she did not use. Leveling, though, it just wasn't that big a hindrance. It would be a hindrance if I kept going, I suppose. I'm not sure if I'll actually finish leveling her and take her through Kotvi Kotet or anything like that, or if I should just find a new tune to level instead. But it was fun doing her, and I'm pretty happy with the way she looks. Never really got around to coming up with a second look for her, so I just kind of stuck with the storm punk rock look that she has sometimes. And that'll bring us to the tip of the week. We've got 2 of them this week. I'll go ahead and read the first one, I guess, from Marvinheim from the Satiloshan server. And this is a short video I created on how to get a flare gun like the one you get from the Collector's Edition / Digital Deluxe Edition of the game for Republic characters only. And there's a YouTube video. And Teal, what do you want to say about that one?
That I wish I'd watched it? Sorry. I know, I certainly meant to. So, do you want to have a quick look at it?
Sure, let's take a quick look.
2 minutes. We'll cut out all this crap and have our informed commentary at the end.
Right. Okay. Yes, of course I do have the Collector's Edition, so I always get a flare gun anyway. Okay.
Only for the pub side. Wow, it's fancy.
Only
Jeez, I'm going
on
to have to dig mine out. Do I have it? Actually, no, I don't have it because I didn't get the Collector's Edition.
Okay. First, go to Hoth.
Yeah. Travel to the outpost.
Go
Synth.
to Synth, okay.
This is fascinating. I should actually pop the video into the chat room, so you know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a mission.
Yeah.
Just talk to Lieutenant Carroll and he'll give you the item. Very nice. And then I'll bet you have to not finish the item, or not finish the mission.
And you get to keep it, yeah.
Yeah. The catch is you have to keep this unfinished quest in your mission log. But there you go.
Effectively the same thing, yeah. All right. So,
funny.
yeah. So in the video, which we may have just paused to watch, it turns out you, as you said, only Republic characters. Only there is a mission on Hoth for Republic characters where there's a mission item which you have to collect and give to the mission giver at the end. But the trick is, don't hang on to it, and you've got yourself a flare gun. How cool is that? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Thank you, mate.
All right. And Blay, you have a tip sort of outside the contest, but you wanted to throw in a tip as well?
Yeah, it's just a tip which one of the guildmates told us all about on our last run through the third boss,
Okay.
the Hoot, or however you want to pronounce it. There's pins that drop down in the first phase. What we never noticed before, never knew before, is the fact you can actually knock them back. So you can get them out of the way of the tanks, so the tanks can actually stay a lot closer then to the group. So effectively, you don't go out of range, so you never have to use the candle. You can all just group up in the middle, and all DPS from the centre part and just knock the pins back. And that just totally changed the way that we ran that entire first phase of the fight, and just made it so much easier.
Was there anything in the guides about that, or that's kind of a late discovery?
Well, we're not generally that good at reading the guides or following the guides. I think when we first did it, there was only a couple of videos out, so we watched a video that was in German, and it wasn't translated, so...
You can't speak German?
No, strange.
Oh. Huh. Alright.
And basically, we had to try and guess what was going on by just watching this video, and then we had to go over it, and we got it down first time on the first. Well, not first time on the first night, but we did get it down on our first night.
Right.
So after that, then we just didn't really change our tactics, and then when someone else then found out there was this better way of doing it, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes much more sense. So we just do it like that now.
Very good. Excellent.
All right. Well, by non-random allotment, the winner is Marvinheim. Congratulations, Marvinheim. You're the winner of a Ton Font or M83R Droid Pet Code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. That'll bring us to the holofeed. Tio?
Alright, let's start with the obvious game update 5.7. Been out for a while now. And probably the biggest thing that was added was the boss that we've just been talking about in the Operation Skyvar. Encounter number 4, technically the 5th boss, but this is actually the 4th encounter. And yeah, Blaze pretty much told us all about it. Apparently, it's a nigh indestructible threat, and your team will have to take advantage of every resource at hand to prevail. There's a hint there's something in the environment that you need to use. I assume there is, Blay?
There very possibly is. I think it's just better to ignore it.
Oh.
Certainly we did better when we ignored it.
Right. Expect a patch in the near future where the mechanics are probably tuned down a little bit. Maybe. Alright, now also, as Blay mentioned, and as we talked about previously, there are returning companions, but these are class-specific. So, Risha and Corso for the Smuggler, and we've also got Andronicus for the Sith Inquisitor. If you are not of those classes, well, tough, apparently. So, you must be the class where the companion was originally introduced, and the other part, you must have completed Kotet, which, as Blay said, he hadn't. And so on his Republic side characters, so he had to go through and get that done to be able to get the companions on his Android Smuggler.
Yes.
Weird. Okay. Yeah. And as I think we mentioned last time, there is some interest in being able to access these companions through the companion locator terminal if you are not of those classes, but they haven't added that yet. and they may do so.
Right.
They can't do it quickly, apparently. But however, there is a little bit of weirdness with this. If you have previously romanced those characters on your own, romance those companions on a given character, and you had romance Theron during Kotfi, and you rekindle your romance with the returning companions, you get this bizarre extra mission, which you can't complete. So that's it's called Things Left Unsaid. Oops. They'll fix that eventually to get it out of your mission log. And finally, with the general stuff, as Blay alluded to, Double XP is back, or was back. It completed on Groundhog Day, February 2nd.
Okay.
So all done now. Alright, other stuff. Dark versus Light tracker will no longer clip outside of the galaxy map, so they just got the UI design a little bit screwy, but it is now fixed. This one, if you're a guild leader, or anyone else using the guild list, right-clicking on a character in the guild window will now change the player selection to that character, which is an odd choice, because usually when you right-click, it doesn't necessarily select that entry in a list.
Mm-hmm.
And people were saying, but now I can't select multiple characters. That's not true. You can hold down Shift if you want to select a contiguous list, or Control if you want to pick out various entries in a list to actually select multiple and then use whatever operation on them. But you have to hold the modifier key down to actually get the context menu when you right click. If you let go of the modifier key, you only select that member. I have to play with this because that's just a terrible UI design. It's like they've just my personal opinion, but it looks like that's kind of screwed up. But okay. Now, when entering a random group via the activity finder, group leader will now be assigned based on criteria such as level and command rank. That's a good idea. I'm guessing it was random before, so that's not too good. If a player selects an activity within a filter in the activity finder, that category will now be selected automatically. For example, player goes into the filter for Story Uprisings and select Crimson Fang. Story Uprisings will now be checked for the queue in activity finder. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? So you select what you want to do, and that category is enabled. Again, presumably it wasn't before.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, Liba and I have noticed that we now, virtually always when we do a flashpoint or an uprising, we get assigned the leader because we're both 70 and 300 CXP rank. So, yeah. It's kind of nice, actually, because it kind of helps that, the person probably has some idea of what's going on, or at least how to play the game.
Right. Yeah, indeed. And the price per unit listing on the GTN will be now rounded to the nearest whole number, or integer. So I guess it was showing a few decimal places previously. You want to recall?
A lot of decimal places.
Oh dear, that's a little unfortunate. Having a round function is actually quite straightforward, but Ben B had a good joke. We need a Star Wars version of Groundhog Day, speaking of when the Double XP event finished, February 2nd. How about Porg Day? If a porg sees its mate barbecued on a skewer, Life Day comes early. That's rather macabre, mate, but still quite amusing. Players no longer blocked from progressing through Qart Drive Yards cutscenes. Yeah, we did talk about that previously.
Yeah, that one's annoying because when you basically get on the little shuttle and it just puts you right back in that shuttle bay, and you can't actually get to where you need to go, and you have to drop out of Qart Drive Yards, and then because you quote-unquote drop out, the game then puts you on a lock for a few minutes, and you can't queue up for anything else.
That is irritating.
That was very unfortunate, yeah.
I'm not convinced it is as fixed as they seem to think it is, because I'm sure I saw someone tweet that they still got stuck.
Okay.
What a shock. Probably get stuck less often, maybe. Let's see. Master mode operations now reward the correct quantity of unassembled components. Bonus mission for Trader Among the Chess will actually grant a command experience. It wasn't previously. Imperial players no longer travel to the Republic version of the Rakghoul tunnels. Well, that's probably a little unfortunate. Players who complete the Scientific Endeavours mission on Belsavus no longer be blocked from completing Belsavus Reborn. So if you have been stuck on that. And the respawn time for Valen Korik on Drummond Cast has been greatly reduced, because defeating him is an objective of the heroic mission Possessed Hunter.
Okay.
And I think I remember exactly that boss too. Yeah, so they screwed up the respawn timer.
It's the one in the Dark Temple, and it's got a respawn time of about 3 minutes, something like that. So generally, if I'm there, I end up just inviting everyone that comes into the room into a group to try and stop them from trying to ninja it.
Mm-hmm. Right, gotcha.
So I end up with almost a full group of 4 people to try and take down this one boss that you're supposed to be able to solo. So he lasts about 3 seconds.
Right. Now I'm guessing they probably reduced it to the respawn timer to almost nothing, so he dies and then he probably just rematerializes almost immediately.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, well, we'll see. They've readjusted the frequency that the war zones pop up back to where they should be, because Yavin Ruins, obviously being the new one, was popping up a lot more than it would have otherwise. Again, that was deliberate. They always do that with a new war zone or arena. They've made the changes to solo PvP ranked and weekly missions. So the way it works now is missions reward 40 unassembled components. This is for the daily, up from 30. So a 33% increase. And the mission will reward 150 ranked Season 9 tokens, up from 0.
Oops.
That's an infinite increase.
Indeed. Smart ass. And for the weekly, the mission will reward 250 unassembled components, up from 200, and will also reward 1,000 ranked Season 9 tokens, also up from 0. Infinite again. And it also rewards 3 charged matter transubstantiators, so a mat for crafting. Achievements which are earned in the Yavin 4 Warzone will no longer reset. Oh dear. Again, that was rather unfortunate, and players who are not wearing augments or who have augments below item rating 208 will now have bolstered stats if they are equipped with item rating 208 augments, up from 150. Wow, that would have made quite a difference. I guess it took a while for people to notice a bolster wasn't quite bolstering, as it probably should in some cases. Okay. Our game update 5.7a, this is alluding to what Blay mentioned earlier, corrected an issue that was preventing players from triggering that shuttle cutscene and queue at drive yards. That may have been what that player was talking about when they put in chat about that. And Chapter 7, this is, well, not exactly an exploit, but the Lady of Sorrows bonus mission cleanup detail has had its rewards reduced, and apparently this is because bots were running it. And so, well, they had to fix that. So that means bots are still alive and well in the game, and it appears there's nothing they can do about it besides removing the incentives to have bots at all. That's a bit sad. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what that bonus mission was then, and what it used to give. The Lady of Sorrows is the one where you meet Scorpio for the first time, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's called cleanup detail. It's probably just kill a bunch of random mobs.
Right. Alright, so that was 5.7a, though apparently the maintenance will also fix some grouping issues with CZ198 and IACATH that people were experiencing. Whether getting into queues and then getting out of queues or something, so that's all fixed as well. Now, last few weeks, or last few shows, we've been talking about the problems with the Season 9 ranked PvP leaderboards, just not updating. There are a bunch of screw-ups in there, something about data, or the actual query to populate them locking up the database or something. And anyway, it's all fixed now. So they are good. If you look at the server status page on the website, it has actually been updated to only show the server status, either up or down, and the server name. Now, previously, this was the last bastion where you could actually see the type, and the time zone, as well as the population, light, medium, heavy, standard, etc. Yes, so obviously they took the type away because it didn't mean anything, and the population, as Eric said and as we've mentioned before, was always misleading because it's based on server capacity, not on the actual population. So exactly the same population on two different servers could show as wildly different capacities or populations based on the capacity of that server. And I'm guessing that that's why Beggar and Colony and Young Ma, back when they were servers, the previous PV role-playing servers, always showed pretty heavy, even though their populations were actually quite a bit lighter than the Harbinger and the other major servers. They just had less hardware. But anyway, so they've taken that away, and of course we've only got the 5 servers left.
So what you're suggesting then is those servers were just someone's PC underneath a desk somewhere?
A few less blades in the VM server, no doubt, or something. Yes. Alright. What else? And we have some news on the roadmap. They have not said when it's coming out. You can expect it will be sometimes in this first quarter of 2018. So sometime before end of March. Hopefully earlier. And this is Keith, and he's saying that they have, and as we talked about last show, there is that expansion plans, Game Update 6.0, that he's been alluding to, but he's not saying anything about it. But he will be putting out his roadmap. So that's about all we know, is that it's coming. And Keith also talked about what he's been doing. He hasn't been active on the forums much, but he has been busy in-game. He's hopefully going to reach Elite Warlord on his second character, which, given how much value you need for that, and that really is exponential as far as those levels go, that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of PvP. Now, also, just this last week, we had the earnings call for Electronic Arts. This is Q3 2018, which is basically Q4 2017. The way this works is basically 3 quarters ahead of the current quarter, more or less, is how they work it out. Whatever, some bizarre financial calendar thing. Each company, Chill, is different. They all have their own financial calendar. Is that true?
Yes. They can have their own. Every company sets its own sort of year end. It's not based on the calendar necessarily.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so now, as we've basically reported on for every earnings call for the last year or two or more, there was no mention of SWTOR, aside from in the Select Live Services and Mobile slide. There it is, little icon, Star Wars York Republic, bottom left. I still think it is moving around. But yes. And as far as we've been able to determine position on the slide, means nothing. Now, the bits of interest in the actual presentation itself was the controversy about loot boxes, which we had Dr. SWTOR on to talk about. It was brought up. This was with Star Wars Battlefront 2. The way they pitch it, this is Andrew Wilson, CEO, and Blake Jorgensen, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, it was more or less a learning opportunity. They sort of went a bit all out. It was kind of pay to win. And in there, this was all discovered pre-launch in the beta, and they did change it. As we all know, they pretty much pulled out microtransactions from the game. So, but they will bring them back, is what they're telling their investors. So yes, they had a bit of teething trouble, and people got all upset. They pulled them out, but they have every intention of bringing them back, and hopefully a more gamer-friendly and less pay-to-win, or at least, if when it happens, hopefully everyone's looking at something else shiny and no one notices. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Of course, the other big news with their new IP, the game Anthem, being developed by BioWare, a stunning project that will blend genres with a shared world experience that evolves around its players, whatever that means. Yes, and blah blah, they're delaying it until Q4 financial year 2019, which is actually the first quarter in 2019, so pretty much a year away at this point. It will be sometime before the end of March 2019. So Anthem has been delayed. They were talking about it coming fall, autumn 2018 in the US, but yes, first quarter 2019.
Right. Well, given that they always love to get things out for the Christmas season, that's tells you that they couldn't push them that hard. They tried to push it really, really hard for Christmas 18, but that's not going to happen. So
Indeed, you are correct.
Yeah.
Though there was something about them not wanting to interfere with the release of a different game. Battlefield. The next Battlefield is coming out at Christmas, apparently. So apparently they do talk about this a bit later, and they say that's why they don't want to rain on each other's parade. Yes,
No
I
way.
think Chill may be correct on this.
Yeah,
But anyway.
there's no way that's the case.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way. If they could get it out for Christmas, they would get it out
They
for
would,
Christmas.
right.
It's just a little too tight, and it's just too ambitious to do it. So, it's actually smart that they're actually keeping quality over just deadline.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and
They're making
really
the right
can't-
decision, but the the back end reasoning is not correct.
It's all about the spin, Chill. All about
My
the spin.
opinion, yeah, exactly. I have no in at EA, so this is only based on logic.
I've worked on enough software projects to know they go long. You can have the best intention in the world. You can throw as much resource on it as you want. But as I keep on trying to tell project managers, it takes one woman to have a baby in 9 months. Throwing 9 women at it isn't going to get you a baby in 1 month. It just doesn't work that way.
From my similar experience in software development, Blair is absolutely correct, and there's nothing will stop the management throwing those extra 8 women at the project in the hope that they will get that baby in that first month. But, in fact, the more people you throw at a project beyond a certain point, the longer it takes, unless your architecture is extremely parallel, and even then, spin up time for new... Anyway. Yeah, so quality over quantity, or quality over schedule is actually a good thing. Very good. Alright, so what else? Now, their financials this quarter, they're putting a good face on it, but they're generally kind of terrible. And a lot of that does seem to be lower than expected sales of Battlefront 2 because of all the controversy. The internet went mad over the whole loot box thing. You could argue justifiably, though beyond a certain point it's just toxicity and just piling on. But again, so pay to win bad, but they took out the pay to win, but people still got upset or were upset, so let's punish EA for ever even daring to contemplate pay to win. Yeah, anyway. So...
Well, yeah, I mean, you say that, but the EA stock price has gone up like crazy the last few weeks. I mean, it only went down this week because the market was down.
Right.
So, I mean, the market, I think they've seen that as sort of like past punishment. It's sort of like already reflected, and they're pretty happy with how things are shaping up going forward. So, yeah, maybe things weren't so great because of that, but yeah, the stock investors clearly think that EA is going to be fine going forward.
Okay. And they did say the performance of their, what I lovingly refer to as the sports crap titles, FIFA, etc., doing really well, so that's all fine. Yeah, it's just Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is a shame because by all reports it's a fantastic game and done really well. But, yeah. Now, there was a question about Anthem. How much confidence do they have in the build, in the game? They pushed it out the fourth quarter, yada yada. And they talk about the whole not wanting to hit Battlefield thing, which we've already debunked. That's what Chill did. They're confident in the actual product readiness. They reckon the date is now solid. Of course, they will always say that. They're tracking their development milestones, which means, Blay, that they're pretty much on track to get to that 90% point, and then, we'll see.
Yeah, we've heard that before. I've been in that seat.
Tracking the
exactly
milestones.
what that means.
Yes, because in any development project, those early milestones are pretty damn easy to hit, and then it's just when you get to the pointy end that things really get hard. That last 10% takes 90% of the time. Well, not usually, but it does certainly feel like that. And anyway,
all those issues that you've just put onto the backlog to fix, Or once we've done the development, then we come to fixing the issues. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and as you get more senior in your leadership in your team, as Blade being a software architect, you try to stop that as much as you can. You know, these issues that get pushed aside, you say, stop ignoring them. Let's just deal with them now, because they're just not going to magically go away. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a very experienced team. Obviously, this is all of BioWare, as we will talk about later, working on this. So most of BioWare, so I'm sure they have a fantastic team sorting out all those problems. Though it is a brand new IP, and they haven't really made this kind of game before. Yeah. And they are committed to Battlefront 2. They reckon at its core it's an amazing game, but they're not really committing to any kind of sequel at this point. But they will be doing lots of DLC going forward. No doubt paid. So,
Right.
well, that's how they make the money. Just remember, game companies do have to make money ongoing, because that's what their shareholders want, and that's just the way things work in our world. So, at least for now. Oh, and hoping you guys could... This is another question from the investors. You're going to restructure the microtransactions around Star Wars? Are you still committed to delivering content for sale? And how do you think this will affect the timeline? How meaningful to Star Wars could this be? How will it affect your top and bottom lines? Yeah. And as I said, the plan is to absolutely continue to drive and focus on delivering that. That is the DLC, etc., and microtransactions. And they're working on how to fit it into Star Wars in a way that isn't too terrible. So this is like cosmetic pink Darth Vader. I'm sure that'll be a thing. They just have to wait a little bit for the fanboys to get distracted. Well, maybe they'll do it around the release of Solo, when people are otherwise occupied. We'll see.
Slip it in with a special Solo DLC.
There you go. Yes, almost certainly. That's a really good point. Now, someone asked about whether Disney was comfortable and how they had an opinion on loot boxes, because there have been rumours that the mouse stepped in and told EA to stop it about the loot box controversy, and Andrew Wilson at least says that's just crap. They sort of worked that out for themselves. They have a great relationship with Disney. Whether you want to believe that or not is up to you. I would suggest they didn't need Disney to tell them to stop it, because it was well and truly impacting their sales, and I'm sure they can work that out for themselves.
Right.
And remember, EA is not owned by Disney. These are just two companies that are separate, and EA has a license to produce Star Wars games for 10 years. Obviously, they want to hang on to that license, and Disney can obviously suggest, but it really is up to EA how they run their business. So, yeah. I'm sure the mouse could express an opinion, but there's no hint they actually did, even though there were rumours to that effect. Fake news, as they say, probably. And they did also mention that they're not the only game company in the world doing microtransactions and loot boxes, and they don't consider it a form of gambling. And they mentioned that they are a part of ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, which I had to look up the history of that. That was originally the IDSA, the Interactive Digital Software Association, which is basically self-regulation among the software industry, or game software industry. These guys are the ones who organise E3, and they developed the ESRB Entertainment Software Ratings Board. So all those ratings we're familiar with, in the US at least, on games. So that it's a way of... There was some sort of thing about violence in video games back in the 90s, and some congressmen were threatening to do some legislation to regulate the game industry, and they said, look, we'll do it ourselves, which is always preferred. Absolutely always preferred, and they did. Anyway, that group is all about making sure they don't get too carried away with gambling. Not gambling, loot boxes. So, yeah. Anyway, that was the earnings call. We have not seen the 10Q yet.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think Dr. Swotor might have a few things to say about that, but...
Yeah, well, yeah. Something about Skinner boxes and, well, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now another story, probably the last story we'll cover because it's a biggie. How much detail we want to go into, I don't really know, but this was from Kotaku. And as people have mentioned, always a bit clickbaitish, as in they do want their clicks, and so the stories they have are usually well sourced, but they do verge on opinion pieces. So let's talk about it. The headline is BioWare doubles down on Anthem as pressure mounts. So the gist of it is that BioWare Studios, that is BioWare Edmonton and BioWare Austin, which apparently are the only BioWare studios remaining, are focused almost entirely now on Anthem, which is their new genre-busting game, which is probably quite a lot like Destiny, as in
Right.
we've seen the trailer, so their genre is pretty much busted, but they're going to do some more busting. Open world, even Warframe has got its own open world component now, probably quite similar, and that one's free to play. My nephew's really into it, apparently. Warframe, that is. Not a bad game, but it's not Star Wars or this new IP. Anyway, and they say, according to this Kotaku article, there are only small teams maintaining SWTOR and piecing together the next Dragon Age. But the rest of BioWare apparently is entirely focused on Anthem, and that does include BioWare Austin, which is where SWTOR is made. So this would support the idea that SWTOR has a small, very focused, and one would argue effective team by this point, but it would explain the slow rate of content being developed for SWTOR. So what do we think? Is that plausible?
What, that they've decided to move resource onto one project in order to get it over the hump? Yeah, I've seen that happen tons of times on software developments. It's never been anything I've been particularly worried about. It's never been anything that's meant the death of a particular project. I've got projects going on in my company at the moment where it's basically me as a one-man band holding the entire thing together. But it's still an important client to the company, and we're still going to be delivering stuff to that customer later on in the year. It's just a case of we've got developers at the moment working on projects for some other projects that we got, which have got a more imminent delivery time.
Yep.
And once they've done that, they'll roll off and come back and deliver all the work which I'm now lining up. It's not unusual to move developers around in a company.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, BioWare and EA have always been moving people around, so, I mean, this is nothing new. Without something more direct about SWTOR itself, it's not really saying a whole lot.
No.
Well, that's just it. It does mention SWTOR specifically, that there are rumours that they're going to shut SWTOR down to focus even more efforts on, because it's just a drain on their resources they don't need. So that was mentioned in this article, which is the SWTOR connection. But there is, and let's just be absolutely clear here, there is no reason for them to cancel SWTOR or close SWTOR, because there is nothing to replace it in the Star Wars space. There is no other Star Wars MMO. There is nothing effectively like it. Battlefront 2 is not an MMO and never will be. It's possible that the game that Visceral was developing and that got canned and is apparently now being reshaped by EA Worldwide Studios, led by EA Vancouver, into something that may eventually become a Destiny Anthem style MMO. That's
right.
Possible, but if that happens, they've only just started really, because they only just shut down Ragtag, the Visceral game, Amy Hennig's game, just like end of last year. It will take them at least 2 years to produce another game that at all, and the only other Star Wars game in development is the one being worked on by Respawn, the action adventure, and that is coming out in 2020 at the earliest apparently. So there is no other game in town Star Wars wise, so there is no reason, let's be clear, no reason for them to shut down SWTOR.
Right.
Up until the point it becomes non-profitable.
Yes.
Right.
If it actually stopped making money, yes, they would shoot it in the head, and why not? But the way they're running things at the moment, it is still making the money, and as we've seen under Keith, they are newly focused, they are keeping the content coming, they are giving players what they want, and yeah, again, I don't see any reason why they should shut it down. Not for a long, long time until there's something to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
For as long as it's making money, or for as long as there's people still playing the game, still paying a sub, still buying the crates, the game's going to be here.
Yes.
And all the people who, sort of like, oh my god, they're going to shut the game down, therefore I'm going to stop playing. Well, they will stop playing if everybody did that. Of course they would, because then they wouldn't be making any money. As long as people just carry on playing, just keep on doing what they're doing now, the game's still going to be there. You can still enjoy it. You can still play it. And I'll keep playing it for as long as it is here.
Now, until Anthem comes out, I suspect the rate of content delivery isn't going to increase, because I suspect they'll keep the SWTOR team as it is. There's no reason for them to add people. But then again, as has been mentioned already, they are working on Game Update 6.0. So an expansion is in the works, so it is being built, which means they do have a sufficient numbers to actually do that. So I suspect the team is bigger than you may get the impression based on this article. And there's only a certain point, Bill. I suspect Keith, my impression having met him and talked to him, is that he's the kind of guy who will quite happily hang on to his team and won't let it be stripped beyond a certain point. So even though the pressure within BioWare is no doubt to make Anthem a wild success, and again, this Kotaku article was saying this was like a BioWare's big chance, and if it doesn't come good, then the studio itself could be in trouble. Yeah, maybe not. I'm sure there is a lot of expectations on it, and BioWare has to deliver, but that's the same with any studio developing any game for a big company, so no big deal there. And I'm sure it is important for their bottom line for SWTOR to continue bringing in money, so they will keep it alive. But I suppose they could surprise us, so I'm willing to be surprised. I suspect the expansion will be modest in its scope, won't come out probably until the end of the year. In terms of how much is there, probably not a huge amount compared to previous expansions. There won't be another Revan, Shadow of Revan style, but I'm sure there'll be still enough meat in it. Yeah, sorry about that shoot it in the head analogy. Who knows, however, when you want to cancel a project, and even if they did want to stop development on it, they would probably still keep it alive, and perhaps even just resurrect it later. But yeah, I don't know. What do we think?
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the game disappearing anytime soon. I'm seriously not. I wish people would stop going on about it.
Yeah, that's true. There is a bit of interesting background about Anthem. I don't know if I'll even be that interested in the game itself. That kind of style of game doesn't really interest me. But like Destiny, etc., it does seem to be the new hotness, but Destiny 2 is having problems as well. Yeah. And they are apparently also having trouble with the Frostbite engine. But then so did Mass Effect Andromeda. It must be a bitch of an engine to work in unless you're making a first-person shooter. Though Anthem is probably more first-person style, it's probably better suited to it.
Yeah, maybe so.
I can well believe that it's taken them more time and more resource to do this project, if you consider that they haven't done a game like this before. And from my job, I can estimate any piece of development that I need to do, if it's something within the ballpark of something I've got experience with, or if it's manageable in terms of I can work out what's going to be needed for it. The second it starts going into a realm which I've never ever worked on before, or I've got absolutely no experience with, yeah, I can take an estimate, but I know my estimate is going to be absolutely pants. It's a lot harder to do something that you've never done before than to produce a game
Absolutely.
you've got a lot of experience in doing. You might think it's all just coding and it's just another game, but it's not when you start doing stuff in an area that you've never done before.
Absolutely. But then again, the more they use the engine, the more proficient they will get. So,
yeah.
And I guess they did have the experience with Andromeda, so this is their second go at it using Frostbite. Alright, now we had a bunch of responses to this. I won't go through them all, though Matt Miracle did point to an article by Larry Everett on Massively OP indicating why SWTOR is not dying. So I didn't really want to spin it that way because it's just not true, because I don't think it is. I think, as I've said, they will keep it alive. But as people have also noted, it does explain why it's taken them a year to deliver an operation. One boss at a time over a year, really. It's just their team they're not able to add extra resource to the team particularly easily. That would help the stuff come faster. Brian, a bad feeling. He did definitely put the positive spin on it. He's hoping the move to direct sales in the cartel market, which we did think they should have done originally, has been keeping the profits up. Yep, hopefully it has. That is a good direction they've taken it in. He reckons the article's part of the toxicity problem. It's not actually written that negatively. It's probably just reporting the rumours and facts of the game matter, as far as you can tell, and rumours mixed in with facts. Not everyone knows stuff for sure. Yeah, he's right. He's right. Josh W. did say that he fears that pulling devs means less content generates less interest means less profit. That's a negative cycle. Again, they are putting out the expansion, so that means they have not reduced it that much. The comments of the article are not worth reading, just saying, but that's pretty much true for any article written about anything on the internet. Never read the comments. Nepthan, our old friend, has said, some would say SWTOR has been dying a very slow death since 3.0. That being said, I'm glad people are still enjoying it themselves, and I understand feeling sad about a possible mothballing of the game. No hint of that. Rumours that they may, but as we talked about, no reason for them to.
And we can point out that the last show that you did, the guest, was a new player to the game.
Yeah.
There are new players coming in.
Yep. As we pointed out, it is the only Star Wars MMO-ish game in town. There is nothing like it, and at this point, it's a very solid game. And he did mention that he was impressed by the quality of the game, that the game engine was actually looking pretty solid and was holding up well. And we know they've been tweaking the graphics engine. I mean, they never did port it to the latest DirectX, which would be nice. But even within the constraints of the engine, and speaking of the problems with Frostbite, this isn't Frostbite, it's their old Hero engine. But the longer you use an engine, the more you tweak it, the more effectively powerful you get with it. So, at this point, they're probably doing pretty well with it. Now, alright, anything more to say on that? I did have some other fun stuff to talk about. Alright, let's just quickly whip through that. Alright, that's the Star Wars SWTOR BioWare news. Just an article that popped up on Gizmodo recently. Some of the silliest names for real-world objects in Star Wars. So let's just quickly go through it because it's kind of funny. Instead of paper, they've got flimsy plast and Eurasheet. Most of this will turn up in the EU in novels and stuff, but flimsy plast, Eurasheet rather than just paper. Though I guess you could argue it's made out of some fancy plastic or something rather than just wood pulp. Instead of coffee, they call it calf, and I'll be needing some of that very shortly. Almost any tool is a vibro tool. You stick the word vibro in front of it, and it becomes science fiction-y. A vibro spade, a vibro mop. Anyway, dice, chance cubes, and we all know about chance cubes in SWTOR. Mm-hmm. Well, chance cubes. It is an accurate description, gotta say. Instead of cameras, they're images. Sure. And this one's weird. Instead of cravats, they're spavats. A fancy spavat. I wonder whether that was just a typo they never caught. I assume it happened more than once. Yeah. Instead of ovens, they're gases. Have you come across this in your readings on the EU?
I've never seen an oven in the game. I'll check the Millennium Falcon, but I'm quite sure there's no oven on it. Not even a microwave.
Indeed.
No, I haven't heard that one.
So in The Force Awakens, that thing that Rey sticks her little, whatever it is, portion into and turns into bread. I don't know what that thing is. Instead of a website, because they do have the HoloNet, they're an info cache. Watches are chronos, which is, yeah, as they say, if you want a spacey sounding term, go to ancient Greek. Chronos watches. And finally, tape is space tape, not duct tape, space tape.
That's possibly the least imaginative one of them all. Just stick the word space on it. It'll be fine, no one will notice.
That one's, yeah, that's extra cheesy. That's something that you do see in like old 50s sci-fi movies sometimes. They actually would do just slap space in front of everything and call it a day. So it's a little sad that stuck, but, you know, it's all good.
Why didn't they go with Vibro tape based on all the others?
That's awesome. Oh, and finally, Nephrim says, SWTOR 6.0, Knights of the Aesthetic Throne, an expansion to fix every little bug. A maintenance release. Hopefully not. And I believe since I've been recording voice actors again, that there probably is quite a bit of story in whatever this expansion is. Alright, and that's the news.
Oh, all right, that'll bring us to the force feedback where you get out your tweets and emails. And Andy wrote in, I really liked listening to everyone do the quiz at the end of the last show. That was quite fun.
And we should include multiple other stuff like that, because it is fun. There's so much Star Wars stuff out there.
Yeah. And then Jim Gallant sent in a screenshot titled Butch and Sundance the Early Years. And he's got a Gamorrean bodyguard companion, and then he's a size 4 male of some sort. And yeah, that takes up a lot of screen space between the two of them.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, and he's got the Gamorrean bodyguard in that new set of gear. Can't remember what it's called offhand, but it's that gray sort of vaguely imperial looking set that became available like a couple of months back.
I just had to zoom in on the picture a little bit because I was trying to work out, is he wearing a mask? Because I thought he was one of those sort of Mexican wrestler masks, but it's not. He's a Cathar.
Oh, is he a Cathar?
Like yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was a mask too.
He's a Cathar because I had to zoom in order to be able to see.
All right. Was there anything else then?
Just looking at the chat room. Let's just finish with what Shadman said. Shadman V2. I think the best thing to do would be just play the game, enjoy the heck out of it. It's hard to say a game is dying when you've got people actively playing and enjoying the game. It's true, the resurgence under Keith's leadership and how things have just been looking up since then. It's all heading in the right direction. They're going to keep that ball rolling for a good long time to come. Well said, sir.
Agreed.
All right, then, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /cjoin Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live, semi-bi-weekly, usually on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Blay.
Thank you, guys. It's a good laugh this week.
And we'll see you next week.
Alright, guys, just keep recording, as always. You guys are veterans at this point. Yeah. Anyway, I need more tea before I fall asleep. The sun is coming up behind me. What's the time? 5:07 a.m. That's appalling. Right. We will be back. I'm not sure when. Probably 2 weeks. At some point, we're going to have a show with just 1 week apart to get me back on my regular cycle, so to speak. But that isn't yet. So we will let you know when it's going to happen. Anyway, in the meantime, let's hope for a solo trailer with Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday today. And everyone, have a good week. May the force be with you and or serve you well. Take us out, Chill.
All right.